Good, beautiful morning, everybody, and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Shortcuts for Your Soul. My name is William Michael Forbes. I'm a spiritual medium, a channel, and an intuitive life coach. Today I have with me the energy of the Ascended, who want to talk about the idea of why our lifespans diminished significantly over the last 2,500 years. Why our lifespans have diminished significantly. During the times of, if you want to take scriptural writings as truth, then during the time of Noah, during the Great Flood, people such as Noah lived to 600 years or older. Methuselah, I think, would live to about 1,000 years. I don't know the exact dates, but when they came to me the other day and said, it's important you understand that the diminished lifespan of humanity is to restrict the amount of harm and damage they can do to themselves and the world around them, I was kind of surprised by that. That humans' lifespan was reduced so they would do less harm to themselves and the environment. That there was a time where humans lived for hundreds and even thousands of years because their focus was on self-improvement and self-development, the reunification of the soul to the divinity of the spirit within them. That was the primary function of an individual, was to come into the dimension, to master a physical being, to master the art of creation. And you had many hundreds of years to learn to do that. Those many hundreds of years that you used to live as individuals has now been broken down into single blocks of what you call lifetimes. And a lifetime can consist of anything from 1 year or 1 day to thousands of days, where you can live to 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, occasionally 100 years of age now, whereas before it was not unusual to observe individuals living for 700 or more years, because their pursuit was not for greed, their pursuit was not for control or authority or power, their pursuit was not for the exclusivity of the pleasure of the senses. It was for the purpose of knowing the self, of what you would call self-actualization, where you begin the process of realizing the nature and source of your being, and then articulating the expression that you would propagate from the form that you were in. Let us take, for example, the one that you would call, from your biblical teachings, Noah, who was given a dispensation at a point where the corruption and depravity of humanity had reached such an extent that he was given a dispensation to preserve and protect the best of humanity and the best of nature itself at that point of time and space, which was carried out. But even after Noah, the process of the lifespans began to diminish. His children, his children's children, his children's children's children, their lifespans began to diminish. While the primary evil of humanity had been subdued during what you call the times of Noah, the actual death of that faculty of human depravity still lived in the hearts of the humans that had survived that calamitous period of time and space. So in order to achieve the same results that you used to be able to achieve in hundreds of years in a single lifetime, the significant type of learning that must occur must be inwardly based. Many of you still remain distracted by your senses, and this is where the problem tends to begin. You get caught up in the sensation of the senses at the expense of your own divinity. Many of you get caught up in the sensation of your senses at the expense of your divinity. When we say your divinity, we mean your ability to reunite with, to connect to become one with what you would call the divine or God within you. You have the capacity to do this, to realize that and become an embodiment of the divine. Every single human being contains that potential, that you could actualize and articulate the manifestation of the divine through your physical organism, and offer a light to the world that the world does not have within itself. The statement, "you are the light of the world," is in reference to the point at where we, the divine, and yourself intersect in this dimension, where you and the infinite, all-loving, all-powerful divinity intersect in your consciousness while you're in the framework of an individual lifetime. You can do this. You can realize that divinity, which is not based in the experience of sensuality. It does not deny nor negate your ability to experience the wonders of smells and touches and tastes. But when these things dominate over your ability to know the divine within yourself, well, then they are a waste of time. Anything that draws you away from knowing your divinity is a waste of time. Now, understand that your lifespans are beginning a process of expansion, but it has been paused. Many of you will not live beyond what you would call a century, 100 years. Very few of you at this point in your collective consciousness are capable of living past 100. This is not because you are flawed in any way, shape, or form, but the general consciousness of your species is still very low vibrational when compared to the existing potential that remains untapped within each and every one of you. You are all so busy fighting for your suffering and your limitations, for your power, your authority, and control over men and the things of this world, that you are deeply fractured from knowing that divinity inside. And you seem to think that getting more power or more real estate or more money or more sex or more sensation, that you're somehow going to experience yourself in a better light. And you may insulate yourself with the delusion of that, but we can assure you that living an immortal life is very different than living a life that is finite. Yes, you can experience a lot in a short lifetime, but imagine your predecessors who could live to hundreds and thousands of years, going deeply into the articulation of a divinity that so few of you see. The one that you call Yeshua, the one that you call Buddha, the one that you call Yogananda are a few exceptional individuals that still place the focus on the realization of the Godhead through their body, to become one with the divine, to be still and know I am God. To truly know that within themselves, these individuals had achieved this and demonstrated it. Is why you honor and cherish them so much, because they embodied the very essence that you yourself contain within you, but they took the time and the patience and asserted the discipline necessary to realize what is the function of the divine. And in each and every case, the function of the divine from each was to work, to love, to care. Some would say chop wood, carry water, to honor your loved ones, to cherish and adore the world and the gifts that were given to you by this consciousness that produced the very body in which you find yourself hearing these words. For you did not build that body in which you live right now, but something constructed that body on your behalf. And here you are hearing these words now with this wonderful opportunity to realize your divinity, an opportunity that escapes the largest majority of you, as you are so caught up in survival. You're so caught up in what you can get. You're so caught up in wanting to feel sensation in a certain way that it transcends your ability to look inward. It pulls you away from it. Your body which was designed to be an instrument through which you could realize the divine, you've made it into a distraction from the divine. You've made your body into a distraction from the divine, rather than an instrument through which you can realize the divine that exists within you. Even in the simple act of your beating heart, there is a divinity there, a scientific perfection that even your science would not deny, that is remarkable. That there's an intelligence in your physical organism alone that beats your heart with exacting precision, can orchestrate and generate functions of chemistry that that are remarkable and miraculous from the observer's view. But it's not something that any individual human can do. You yourself, of your own free will, would have to learn how to be as the divine, to articulate chemical and energetic changes as an act of your free will in union with that divine. But you can. You can alter your heart rate. You can alter your blood pressure. You can alter the production of what you call stem cells with your consciousness. If you understand the communion, the connection point between yourself and the divine, then you can simply ask and receive. Understand that immortality is your true nature, while the physical form is restricted and limited at this time, because the general consensus in human collective unconsciousness is based in suffering, control, power, and authority, that the door to immortality in this physical dimension has been closed to you, even though from a logical perspective you say, my cells keep regeneration, why will they die? The obvious answer is because your collective consciousness has gone down such a road of destruction and harm and disrespect that that faculty has been denied you. As a physical entity, your soul will always remain immortal. Your soul will always remain immortal. The body used to reflect that capacity, in that such individuals like Methuselah, of course, could live for many, many thousands of years. There are capacities that will not be granted through other than your ability to be in alignment energetically, that they could function. Immortality requires that you have ideas, beliefs, and considerations that allow for the infinite to unfold on a day-to-day basis. Ideas that are immortal. Love is an immortal concept. Love is an immortal concept. Peace is an immortal concept. Kindness and compassion are immortal concepts. They are energetic functions of immortality, which preserves and strengthens and enlivens life, whereas anger and fear and jealousy, greed and hatred are mortal. They're mortal functions of energy versus your immortal functions of energy. The function of love is easily demonstrated when compared to the function of fear if you apply it even to simple living organisms like leaves or vegetables or fruits. You could take a piece of fruit or a leaf, and you can give it your love and your grace and measure its length of life from your love. Then you can take another and give it your hate and your disdain and watch the difference in its function. The function of your love is immortal. The function of your fear and your anger is very mortal. Our reason for coming today is that you must understand that your lifespans are very short, because it prevents you from getting into too much trouble. If you had accumulated hundreds of years of dysfunction and destructiveness in your individualized consciousness, what would take a very, very long time for you to get back to immortality. So you take little chunks and you can make little corrections in each lifetime. Of course, you do not have to wait until the lifetime ends to make corrections. You can make corrections now. What then is your function of love? We say to you that love is a function of immortality. Fear is a function of mortality. Then what then could you think, say, or do that is a function of love? For these things will enhance and improve what you would call the longevity of your life. One will lead you towards the expansion and experience of a greater life. The other will lead you to a contracted and very short version of your life. Those who live in anger, fear, guilt, and shame, violence, and aggression, well, it is not such a pleasant thing. The function of your life can be significantly shorter as a result, but the function of love will give you the opportunity to experience the immortal nature of your being and allow you to re-embody that. Your original progenitors, the ones that you call Adam and Eve, which are primarily the basis for atoms and electrons coming together to produce the function of life and matter as you see it. That's exactly what you see in this world is atoms and electrons, what you call Adam and Eve, atoms and electrons, have come together and produced the realm of matter as a creative output of a consciousness that recognizes its creative capabilities. The question you want to ask yourself now, do you want to continue on the path of these short lifetimes? Because many of you will go through 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 or many more lifetimes just to learn to be kind. Some of you will spend many lifetimes just learning how to not be angry. And yet it's given to you even in the smallest of time frame of 60 or 70 or 80 years. It's given to you that you have the ability to restore yourself to love, to begin to move to your immortal nature again, even in a single lifetime, if you can make a distinction between the functions of love and the functions of fear as behavioral and psychological functions of consciousness. That behavioral and psychological functions of consciousness produce effects in your experience of time, space, and matter. That thought does indeed orchestrate functions of energy in the body and in the environment. And so you're at this place where the immortal nature of humanity is restricted to only the function of your soul, and that the function of your soul shifts from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime. It's a very slow incremental process, but it ultimately works, but the outcome is significantly slower. As we have said previously, there are exceptional individuals that you're aware of, the ones that you would call your Yeshuas, your Buddhas, your Yoganandas, your Sai Babas, your Krishnas, these other realized individuals have achieved conscious living immortality. They've become the embodiment of living immortality. And recognizing that, they did not have to have a body, because once immortality is realized, you do not need a form, because you are already that state of immortality. Immortality can only be achieved through the mastery of the function of love. Immortality in the human form can only be achieved through the function of love, fully realized in the human organism. You have a wonderful opportunity at this place of time and space, each and every one of you. But for the last 5,000 to 7,000 years, your lifespans have diminished significantly to just a handful of decades. And it is not because there's anything fundamentally wrong with your genomes or your genetic systems. It's your consciousness, your will. What is it you will? What is it you think? What is it you believe? As these things are constantly revising and restructuring your biological function. That is, your thoughts, your emotions, your memories, your anticipations, your expectations. These coordinate and orchestrate the function of your physical system, to be, to do, to live, or to not live according to the beliefs and ideas that you sustain and hold in your consciousness at a given moment. But it's a wonderful, wonderful consideration, don't you think? That we have within us, we are an immortal soul, and that we lost the ability to embody immortality in the living flesh because we deviated from love and got caught up in the sensations of the body as being more important than the realization of our divinity. And I'd really like to know what your thoughts are about that, about the idea that your lifespan actually gets shorter the further you get away from love. And the closer you get to love, the longer your lifespan tends to be. Interesting consideration, isn't it? Hi, Con. Good morning. Hello, Lauren. Hello, Equinox. Poor dietary habits like SAD. Yes, that doesn't help. Hi, Lauren. You are God, but you are also your other half, feminine and masculine. Well, again, from the perspective of consciousness, your soul is masculine and matter is feminine, because soul can cause or impregnate ideas in the mind, which can cause effects in your world, right? So yeah, but your body is what it is. In the darkness, God is the light, but unconditional love. Yes, that's very true. God is unconditional love. Hi. Fear is hard for me to let go of. No, it's not actually, Christina. Christina, or anybody who's listening right now, I will do that. So just tell me to tell you to do this, Christina. Turn your attention to your fear. Turn your attention to your fear. Every emotion and every thought that you have in your consciousness lives somewhere in your body. I want to repeat that. Every thought and every emotion that you have in your consciousness lives in your body, including your fear. It doesn't matter where the fear came from. What matters is that you know it's there. So turn your attention to that fear right now, Christina. Like, turn your attention to that fear. Recognize where it lives in your body. This is stuff people learn in our masterclass, how to recognize where you store old emotions in your body. So you want to go to that place where the fear is in your body. And you want to turn to that fear and just communicate these words to the fear. No matter how afraid you are, I'm willing to love you. Communicate that to your fear right now. No matter how afraid you are, I'm willing to love you. And watch what changes in the energy of your fear when you do that. And leave a comment about what changed for you in the comment section so that we all know that something shifted for you. But repeat that phrase several times to the fear, right? You want to repeat it several times. No matter how afraid you are, I love you anyway. And just repeat it a few times and watch what happens, the energy of that fear. Once you can start feeling the energy of emotion changing, you're actually causing changes in your chemistry as well. Hi, thank you so much. The paradox is love. Love is not a paradox. The paradox is when you're trying to serve two masters, where you got love and fear. You're vacillating back and forth from one level. Then it's confusing. Christina says, I'm feeling it her fear in her entire body. So when you turn to that fear throughout your whole body and you say, no matter how afraid you are, I love you anyway. And repeat that slowly, like you really mean it. Make your voice, your physical or your internal thought voice, sound like you really mean it. So you're thinking or you're speaking, no matter how afraid you are, I love you anyway. And just stay with that and then describe what happened, right? Hello, Lauren. Absolutely. I believe your life expectancy is diminished by stress and spiritual attacks. I feel my life vibrancy has been diminished during the last 5 years. Again, if you restore, remember, every emotion that we harbor in our body carries with it an effect. Anger, fear, guilt, shame, love, playfulness, compassion, kindness, every element of the emotional spectrum either elevates your body up or lowers its frequency down. Anger lowers the vibrational state of the body. Joy raises the vibrational frequency of the body. So what are you doing? What way are you doing? What are you doing to raise your vibration? What is your shadow self? Your shadow self is the unconscious mind. Your shadow self is your unconscious mind, where you have stored in your body the many lifetimes of experience that you've carried forward that are unresolved. The angers, the loves, the joys, the sorrows that you've carried or have not released, that you still carry with you, are in your unconscious mind, that infinite field within you. So your shadow self is your unconscious mind. Very simple. Let's not make unnecessary complexity here. Your shadow self is your unconscious mind, of which you can gain access to very easily. We will show you how to gain access to your shadow self. It's not that difficult at all. Many of you are in touch with it right now. You say, I'm afraid, I'm angry, I'm uncertain. That is your shadow self. That is your unconscious shadow self that you are conscious of. You may not know why you are angry or why you're afraid or why you are nervous or even why you are excited, because it is unconscious information. But we can assure you, the very moment that you begin to bring light to your shadow, as this one Christine is hopefully doing now, where you bring yourself to your fear and you bring yourself to your anger and you bring yourself to your guilt and you bring yourself to your shame and you say, I am willing to love you no matter how you feel. And you begin to give to the shadow the love that it so desperately calls forth. And that love, most people try to get that love from another human being, but you are fully capable of giving that love and grace to the part of you that suffers and transforming it. it is certainly equally beneficial to have someone in your world that will turn to you and say, you are beautiful, you are wonderful, you are cherished. It is wonderful to have those things too, but it's very important to understand that you yourself can be the agent of transformation that you seek to find in the world. So let us know what happened, Christina, when you did that. Tell us what happened. I'd like to know. No matter what, no matter how afraid you are, I love you anyway. When I sing praise, I feel fear subside. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And repeat it. So when you start to feel the fear starts to diminish, then go closer to it and say, no matter how you feel, I will continue to love you. And yes, the function of your love is transformative. Even in the face of your anger, your fear, if you extend love to any parts, those parts of yourself, you're extending love to what this other person called the shadow self. The shadow self is the subconscious mind, where you've stored all of your life experiences from the moment you came into this physical dimension to this present moment, whether it's one lifetime or 1,000 lifetimes. In your shadow self, all memory is there, all emotion is there, all your experience is there, and you can change it. It's not difficult. It's not complex. My guides, my angels, the ascended masters work through me, and we will show you how to simply and easily, just like we showed Christina, how you can actually change the function of an energy like fear. And she just did that. How's it feeling now, Christina? Let us know. Very important. I keep repeating the statement to my shadow self, no matter what I thought, felt, or believe about you, I'm willing to love you. And what does that make you feel, Lauren? What happens is Lauren saying that I keep repeating the statement to my shadow self, no matter what I thought, felt, or believe about you, I'm willing to love you. What happens when you do that? What actually happens to the feeling of fear or anxiety or anger when you communicate, no matter how angry you are, no matter how afraid you are, I love you anyway. Remember, that does not mean you're condoning the function of anger. You're simply letting that part that's angry know it's cared about. Because remember, every function of human behavior consists of two things, either a call for love or an extension of it, right? If you believe the Course in Miracles. So I'm curious, how does that feel, Lauren? Christina's saying, better, I can now breathe. So yeah, so that part that changes, suddenly she feels like she can breathe better. So turn to the part that's now breathing better and say, thank you for being a part of my life. So communicate to the part that shifted, because you just shifted some of your fear energy from fear to relief. So now turn to the relief and say, thank you for being a part of my life. So now you invite the energy of relief to be a part of your life more. So there's two ways you're now approaching your shadow self in this context, the shadow self of fear. And you give it the love and it changes slightly. So now you feel relief. Now you've shifted the energy from fear to relief in a small degree. Now imagine doing that over a period of 3 consecutive weeks where you're practicing that every single day. You're practicing shifting your emotional energy from one state to another, that you will literally transcend your fear, your guilt, your shame in a very short time frame. Right? Sign up for Masterclass 101 begins Saturday, October the 10th with the orientation. And now Christine is saying, I'm worthy of the love and thankful. Beautiful. So now your whole energy shifted. And that's what happens. We see it countless times when the Ascended Masters bring people through processes in our master classes. And you watch a person go from we've had people in deep despair, like gut-wrenching, horrible, I feel terrible despair, and literally watch them in the span of like a minute or two go from that to suddenly, I am feeling like I've never felt before. I never thought I could feel this way. We've had that happen many times where people really have that revelation that they can feel the way they never felt before. Sometimes I feel a sensation on my left side frequently. Yeah, if you got guides and angels that they're trying to help you, they'll try and they'll be persistent. But if you're not listening or taking think about where you go outside and you're going through the dollar store and you suddenly see that chocolate bar over there and you're going, oh, I shouldn't have that, but a part of you wants that, right? Your guides and angels will always try to say, don't do this, do this. They'll always try to guide you. And if you learn to listen to Jesus or Buddha or any of them, they'll say the same thing. do those things that ennoble the life in your body, ennoble the life in your mind, right? Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Hello. He's us/Jesus. Yes, we all are. Kingdom of God is within you. Remember that. Hello, Babette. Good to see you. Welcome. So the subject today is immortality. Why have our lifespan since the time of Noah and Methuselah, Adam and Eve, our lifespans have shrunk down to like just 80 years. And again, I'm paraphrasing what was said earlier. If you weren't here earlier, what was said is because humanity got so caught up and lost in the sensation and the pleasure of the senses for the sake of the pleasure of the senses exclusively, we got disconnected from our divinity. We went down into what they call depravity, where we were only here for the sake of what's in it for me, the pleasure of me. There was no process to realize your divinity. What is the function of God through you? And so in order to help us with that, our lifespans were shortened down to what they are now, between 60 and 110 years of age is the average lifespan of a human being now. But it used to be 600, 800, 1,000, 2,000. There's been recorded history of individuals living as many as 28,000 years. But that's because the function of our divinity was more important than the function of our pleasure of the senses, where we weren't just believing the body is the only locus of our identity. So immortality is something that you by nature will always be a part of. Your soul is immortal. Your mind and body, finite. Your mind and body used to match to a large extent the capacity of your soul to live for eternity. So your body could live for hundreds, if not thousands of years from the energy of your soul, sustaining it through the grace of love. Or if you want to use the term divine grace or God's grace coming through you. Hi. Babette's asking, when is your next, I'm not sure what the question, when is your next Mediumship 102 course? The next Mediumship 102 course is going to happen, I believe, around November the 2nd or 3rd. I haven't put the date up, but it follows a week after Masterclass 101, which begins on the 10th of October with the orientation. So 4 weeks after the 101. So around the 10th of November, we will be beginning Masterclass 102, which is where you will learn how to transcend and overcome old emotional energies that are stored in your body. It's our most popular program. It's usually very full, and students get a chance to understand that their emotions are something they have actual divine authority over. You could literally change your emotional energy in a few seconds. And you've seen examples of that today already here, where an individual is changing their own energy. In the case of Christina, for example. Hi. Remember to like, subscribe, share, and follow, please. Do what you can to get this information out to other people. Hi. Hello, Catherine. Good to see you. Hi, William. I have a pink prick-like feeling that comes and goes. A pinprick-like feeling that comes and goes every day on the side of my left foot. What is that? That is a very, very antiquated emotion from this lifetime. In your physical body, the further down in your body an ache or a pain is, that's about the time in your life, the lower in the body, the early in your life. In this case, that pinprick on the left foot is, because it's in the left foot, is low down. So somewhere between ages 0, conception, and ages 1 is what I'm getting with ages conception and 1, something emotional happened. And that prick feeling in your foot, it contains the function of the emotion. So I would suggest to you, Catherine, feel the vibration of that pinprick, not as a sensation of a prick, but what is is it annoyance? Is it frustration? Is it fear? What is the underlying emotion to that pinprick? And then to discharge or release from your body that emotion. Something that everybody in the Masterclass 102 learns to do is how to release old, dense emotions out of your body. Just like in Masterclass 101, you learn the process of awakening, how to connect your guides, how to connect your angels, because this is where a lot of people get stuck. They're trying to find in the world the things that you need to find in your own heart. Your guides and angels are not necessarily physical. They're energetic, and you can learn to connect to them, feel their presence, and receive very specific guidance and information from them. A lot of people are getting signs and symptoms and symbols and number sequences, but a lot of people do not know how to interpret the meaning of the signs. Why are you getting the 1111? Why are you getting 2222? Why are you getting that same person showing up in front of you every day for a week? And it's because there's information in the experience that you have not learned how to understand. Thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. You're very welcome, Katie. Yes. So let's see here. Jesus, hang on. We're getting excited here. Yes. Technical difficulties. Your voice is looping. Yes, for some reason, Starlink is having some troubles this year. We've never had a problem with Starlink until this year. And I think that's because of the intense solar energetic activity that's going on right now. Right now, we are being bombarded with a new vibrational frequency from the sun that's in response and reaction to our human collective emotional energy at this time. Most humans do not realize that our emotions collectively assert a net effect on time, space, and matter. The concept of climate change, the concept of any change on this planet, is intimately connected to our emotional human condition. What we as a collective emanate as a species emotionally. And what I've been told for the last 7 years is humanity has been stuck predominantly in fear for the last 7 years. And fear, of course, is what precipitates war and violence, greed, aggression, deviant behavior. That's what fear does. It creates suffering. And then the function of love is very different. And again, for these last 7 years, we've been predominantly living in fear. In these last 7 years that they've been working through us, there's been a huge effort around the planet for people to shift human collective unconsciousness from fear back to love. And that's affecting the sun. It affects the earth. What we feel and think affects time and space and matter, right? What we think and feel is what drives every action. No human action can occur without an emotion. Anyway, what's coming into the earth right now with regard to the technical difficulty is this energy coming from the sun. That's going to be intensifying over the next 4 or 5 days. So be ready for auras and things like that. They're going to happen because the sun is bringing out and directing more energy towards us, because many people on the planet are calling for help. A lot of people are going to help us, help us, help us. Lots of people are calling for it. And the energy of the sun will react and respond according to the nature of that request, right? But we'll get into that another day. What is my relationship to dragons? Your relationship to dragons is to establish a great reverence and respect for their energy in this dimension again, because dragons will return to a perceptible dimension where we can actually see them with our eyes and hear them with our ears again. There are dimensional shifts happening in consciousness right now that make it possible to perceive other realms of consciousness. Yes. Thank you so much. Jesus, because he lives, I can face tomorrow. All fear is gone. Jesus is love. Absolutely. I would agree with that sentiment. And I would say the same thing is true for Yogananda, for Buddha, for many other. Joan of Arc was a function of divine love, right? But yeah, definitely, absolutely, Master Jesus, hands down, one of the best. Thank you so much. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but it's all good. Understand that, yeah, yes, I understand. Christ, they say Christ is king. If you understand the function of the Christ, it's a state of consciousness achieved by Jesus, and others have achieved that state too. And it requires a very strict discipline of thinking, speaking, feeling, and acting to achieve the level of the embodiment of the divine in your body. It requires a very high level of functioning. Charlie Kirk was an example of a man who was in the process of that, the full embodiment of the divine. Like, a lot of people don't realize that Charlie Kirk was on the verge of the full embodiment of the divine. It's one of the reasons why they wanted to remove him from the world scene, is he was very close to bringing forth the revelation of the divine. In fact, that's what his process was. And Charlie Kirk is not the only one. There are other beings on this planet right now, and they know who they are, that are beginning the process now of the full embodiment of the divine, of love, of grace, of compassion, of peace, of truth, of wisdom, of knowledge to offer others. So look for those who speak truth. Feel it in your heart, because there are others that are in the process of bringing about the embodiment of the divine through themselves. Many others. Look for them. They will give you truth. They will give you knowledge. They will give you wisdom. They'll give you hope. They'll give you peace. Hi. Well, I'm glad we got Happy Gilmore here. It's interesting. So I hope that helps you with the relationship to dragons. Now, I get to go and paint a roof today, which is going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to say again, remember to like, subscribe, share, and follow the channel. Do your part in getting this information, this knowledge out to other people so that we can end unnecessary suffering for anybody. You know, Eckhart Tolle, in his book, I think, Conversations with God, where he states that suffering is only necessary until it is not. Very interesting statement, that you can be the agent of ending your own suffering in just a few minutes. Like, literally, you can change your emotional energy in just a few minutes. Hello, Kim. Kim's off topic. You suggested ivermectin and fenbendazole for my son's girlfriend battling cancer. I've researched and will be talking to them about it today. Any other messages from your guides for her? She needs to go into she needs to, hang on. Because she's experienced an emotional trauma that has not been addressed or released from the body. And the body's speaking. Remember, the body can only speak to us on the level that it's at. If your body's in pain, it will give you a sensation that tells you it's in pain. The body's incapable of lying. So whatever the underlying emotion is, that's what she needs to get to. The ivermectin and fenbendazole will certainly help deal with the symptomological elements of the parasitic elements that are engaged in producing that phenomena that you call cancer. However, the underlying emotion is what needs to be transmuted mostly in almost all functional diseases, because diseases go through stages, right? So get her to evaluate what is the underlying emotion. In her case, I'm feeling anger and fear are very strong at an unconscious level for her. And if she can transform or transmute that underlying anger and fear, it will begin to go into correction almost immediately. It's like if you tied your hand, if you took a string and you tied it around the wrist and you tied it tightly, your hand would begin to turn red and then eventually blue as oxygen deprivation settled in. But the minute you take that rope or string off the wrist, the blood will flow back in. So on an emotional level, if your negative emotions are choking the life out of the body in some areas, the minute you release the emotion that's causing that function of tension, then the body will return to normal naturally. But those two underlying emotions, anger and fear, need to be released from that location in the body where the condition is manifesting. Because emotions are very specific to where they live in the body. In fact, most people store emotions according to the way of their environmental conditioning. So if you're in an environment where you're being hit all the time, you might store a lot of your fear and your anger in your arms, right? And people will store emotional energy in different places of their body as they're growing up, according to the needs of their environment and to protect themselves. But yeah, let her know that she needs to deal with that emotion. Question: I receive a lot of random visions of beings, dinosaurs, and scenes from past dreams. It can be overwhelming at times. Why? That's wonderful, Babette, that you're able to move out of the physiological timeline and perceive other timelines like that, because that's what's happening, is your soul is bearing witness to the life that you've observed from many lifetimes on this planet. You're able to do that. If you want to quiet and calm that down, sign up for Masterclass 101 Awakening, and you will learn simple, easy to follow practices that will teach you how to settle your mind and your body down very quickly, very easily in the journey of awakening, because you're in the process of awakening. I've had that happen too, where I was in a building once called the IOF building in Toronto, and I think I was at about 30 or 40th floor in the building, and I was looking out over the building over the Don Valley Ravine, and all of a sudden everything disappeared, and I was just like this eye in the sky looking. All I saw was trees and this giant, massive river, which is obviously the Don River from like 50,000 years ago. So I was bearing witness to what this area in Toronto looked like 50,000 years ago. It was quite remarkable how much forest, and it was all natural. There were no buildings, just all forest everywhere. And the rivers, what you call the Don River, was a massive river. It was huge, right? Most people couldn't have swam across it. But yeah, you want to get to a place where you learn how to shift the energy of your mind and body, right? Because you're tuning into different dimensions of experience you've had by that. So you want to do that. You want to learn how to shift your mind and body so they serve you instead of subjugate you. Most people are prisoners of their own body. Most people are prisoners of their own mind. Thank you for the gifts. Thank you for the hands-on hearts. Really appreciate it. What if this pressure and breakdown feeling I'm experiencing like I'm being broken open? Remember, everything in this world gives you the opportunity to choose fear or love, good or evil. Right now, you got a choice, okay? You got a choice. If you're experiencing discomfort and frustration in your mind and body, you can learn to shift that energy effectively and easily. You can take what seems to be very uncomfortable emotions and transform it from one state into another. And that's what you have the capacity to do. That's the lesson that's being offered to you. How to become a transformer of your own emotional energy. How to change emotion from one state to another, because that's what creation is based in. Creation is based on our ability to shift energy from one state to another. And every single human emotion causes a function of behavior. And functions of behavior are either creative or destructive. Most of our technology, most of our sciences are products of that process of certain emotions driving thought forms and behaviors that cause creations. Innovation, technology, the way we build houses, the way we fly airplanes, all those things evolved out of the consciousness of the individual and how we felt. I was wondering what it was like to fly. You'd think about flying and it felt a certain way, and the feeling would drive the behavior that would eventually lead to the innovation of flying, or the innovation of the gas engine, or the innovation of computers. Every human innovation has its genesis in an emotional quality. And in your life right now, everything in your life right now is a product of the emotional energy that you hold in your mind and body. In fact, your life as it is right now, is the sum total product of all your combined thoughts and emotions that you've engaged in from the time you were conceived to this present moment. And if you're in a difficult time emotionally, it's because you've accumulated a lot of emotions. If you're in a really great life right now, it's because you've accumulated a lot of positive emotions. And yet you can change any of those emotions at any time once you understand how to shift the energy. And you'll learn that in our masterclass. Go to my website, williammichaelforbes.com. Check out our masterclass 101 Awakening begins October the 10th. And then 4 weeks after that, around November the 10th, we will be beginning our masterclass 102, which is all on liberation. Awakening is about connecting your guides and angels and getting the assistance and the guidance that you need to help you shift your life in a new direction. Masterclass 102, liberation, is literally about how to go into your body, your mind, how to release old emotions, old traumas from your mind and from your body in simple, easy to follow practices. One of the things I love most about masterclasses is that you begin to take back authority and control over your mind and your body, which you've given to the world. Most people have given power, control, and authority over their lives to the world, to the politician, to the school, to the belief, to the philosophy, to the religion. And yet the level of unhappiness on the planet is because we're actually disconnected from God inside. We're disconnected from our source of love. We're disconnected from what we really are. And the truth is, you are love. That's the truth of who you are at the essence. You are love. I want to wish all of you a wonderful, a joyful day. I look forward to seeing you guys on Friday. And again, don't waste any time. Get signed up for the masterclass so that you can go on the journey of liberation, go on the journey of awakening that the world has denied you. If you're suffering, it's not because there's anything wrong with you. It's simply because you've been conditioned into suffering by your environment. Have yourself a wonderful, a joyful day. I look forward to seeing you guys on Friday. Much love, everybody. Bye for now.